August 8, 1942, 0437 hours, Sevastopol, Crimea. The rubble smells like burnt concrete and death. Lieutenant Lyudmila Pavlichenko lies in the ruins of what was once a schoolhouse, her Mosin-Nagant rifle pressed against her cheek. The scope is cold. The morning fog rolls through the shattered city like smoke from a funeral pyre. 300 meters away, a German sniper has killed 6 Soviet soldiers in the past 2 days. She's been hunting him for 36 hours. No sleep, no food since yesterday morning. Just patience and mathematics. Her spotter, Sergeant Lyudmila Pavlichenko, whispers, "He's good. Maybe better than you." Lyudmila doesn't respond. She's watching a pile of bricks that shouldn't be there. The pattern is wrong, too deliberate, too careful. The German is behind it. She knows this the way a violinist knows when a note is wrong, not from seeing, but from feeling the wrongness in the air. Her finger rests on the trigger. Standard doctrine says wait for visual confirmation, wait for movement, wait for the target to expose himself. But Lyudmila has developed a trick that makes other snipers think she's insane. A technique that violates every rule in the Soviet sniper manual. A method her instructors called suicide and her comrades call Pavlichenko's madness. She's about to use it again, for the 217th time in 11 months of combat. And if it works, if she's calculated correctly, she'll kill a man she's never actually seen. Lyudmila Mikhailovna Pavlichenko was born July 12, 1916, in Bielotserkva, a small town 80 kilometers south of Kiev in Ukraine. Her father worked in a munitions factory. Her mother was a teacher. They lived in a 2-room apartment that smelled like cabbage soup and her father's cigarettes. Lyudmila was not a soldier. She was a historian. By 1937, she'd completed her studies at Kiev University, specializing in the history of Bogdan Khmelnytsky, the 17th century Cossack leader. She planned to teach, to write, to live a quiet academic life surrounded by books and dusty archives. But in 1937, when she was 21, something strange happened. A shooting club opened near her university. A propaganda poster showed a woman with a rifle. Girls can shoot too. Lyudmila, who'd spent her childhood being told girls couldn't do what boys did, walked into that club with something to prove. She discovered she could shoot, not just adequately, exceptionally. Within 6 months, she'd earned a sharpshooter badge. Within a year, she was competing in regional marksmanship competitions. By 1941, she'd logged over 1,000 hours of rifle training, more than most Soviet infantry conscripts received. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941, Lyudmila was 24 years old, married, though separated, with a young son named Rostislav. She could have stayed home, could have evacuated with the university, could have chosen safety. She enlisted instead. The Red Army recruiting officer looked at her application and laughed. "Go home, girl. We need nurses, not soldiers." Lyudmila pulled out her sharpshooter certificates. "I can shoot better than any man you have. Give me a rifle, and I'll prove it." They gave her a rifle, an old Mosin-Nagant model 1891-30, with iron sights. Put her on a range with male recruits, told her to hit targets at 400 meters. She hit 187 out of 200. The men averaged 132. The officer assigned her to the 25th Rifle Division, 54th Regiment, as a sniper. She was one of 2,000 female snipers the Soviet Union would deploy during the Great Patriotic War. Most would not survive. Lyudmila met 2 people who would define her war. Sergeant Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a veteran sniper from Siberia who'd survived the Winter War against Finland and had a habit of humming folk songs while waiting for targets, and Yelena Trofimova, a 19-year-old Ukrainian girl from Odessa who volunteered as a spotter and wrote poetry in the margins of tactical maps. "You think you can do this?" Leonid asked her during training. "Kill a man at 500 meters? Watch him fall? Know you're the reason he'll never go home?" Lyudmila didn't answer immediately. Then, "I think someone has to, and I can shoot straighter than most." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I have." June 28, 1941. Lyudmila's first day at the front near Bilayevka, Moldavia. She was positioned in a trench overlooking German advance positions. Her mission, observe and report. She wasn't supposed to fire unless ordered. Green snipers weren't trusted yet, too likely to give away positions, too likely to miss.
At 14:30 hours, she saw 2 German soldiers moving supplies between bunkers. Easy targets, 300 meters, no wind, perfect light. Her hands trembled, not from fear, from the weight of the decision. These men were someone's sons, someone's brothers. She'd studied German history, read Goethe in translation, loved Wagner's operas despite their bombast. Now she was supposed to kill Germans. Leonid, spotting beside her, said quietly, "First kill is hardest. After that, it's just numbers." Lyudmila centered the crosshairs on the first soldier, exhaled halfway, held. "This is murder," part of her mind screamed. "This is war," another part answered. She fired. The rifle kicked. The German fell. She'd never forget his face. Young, maybe 20, blonde hair, surprised expression as he dropped. She fired again. The second German fell. Leonid nodded. "Two confirmed. You're a sniper now." That night, Lyudmila vomited behind the trench. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Wrote in her field journal, "I killed 2 men today. I know their faces. I will know their faces forever. I tell myself this is necessary, that they would have killed me, that they invaded my country. But knowing this doesn't make it easier. It just makes it bearable." Over the next weeks, she killed 37 more German soldiers. Each one weighed on her. Each one appeared in her dreams. But she continued, because stopping meant Soviet soldiers died instead. And that math was simpler than the moral calculus that kept her awake at night. July 20th, 1941. Lyudmila made her first major mistake.
A German officer, a captain based on insignia, appeared 600 meters out. Long shot. Wind gusting from the east. She calculated lead, elevation, breathing rhythm. Fired. Missed. The round hit a sandbag 3 inches left of the captain's head. The captain disappeared. Lyudmila had given away her position. Within seconds, German machine gun fire raked her position. She retreated, but her spotter, a young man named Dmitri, didn't move fast enough. A burst caught him across the legs. He survived, lost his left foot, was evacuated to a field hospital, and never returned to combat. Lyudmila wrote in her journal that night, "I miscalculated wind. Dmitri paid the price. This is the cost of mistakes. Other people's bodies. I cannot afford to miss again. Perfection or death. There is no middle ground." After that, Lyudmila developed her technique, the one instructors said was insane, the method that would make her legendary. "You're shooting through concealment," Leonid told her in August 1941, watching her kill a German sniper who'd been hiding behind a steel plate. "You're not waiting for visual confirmation. You're calculating position based on probability and firing blind." "Not blind," Lyudmila corrected. "Informed. I know where he should be based on tactical positioning. I calculate angles. I adjust for material penetration. I fire where logic says a sniper must be, even if I can't see him. That's insane. Maybe, but it works." It did work. Of Lyudmila's 309 confirmed kills over 11 months of combat, an estimated 40 to 50 were blind shots. Shots taken at positions she calculated enemy snipers must occupy, even when she couldn't visually confirm a target. Other snipers thought she was guessing. She wasn't. She was doing mathematics. August 8, 1942, 05:12 hours. The German sniper hasn't moved in 3 hours, but Lyudmila knows he's there, behind the brick pile, 300 meters away. She studied his pattern. He killed 6 Soviet soldiers in 2 days, all headshots, all from elevated positions, all between 0500 and 0700 hours. Morning light, when shadows are long and targets are silhouetted. His last 2 kills came from different angles, suggesting he relocates after each engagement. But Lyudmila has mapped his firing positions, plotted them on a tactical map, found the pattern. There are only 3 positions that give line of sight to Soviet approaches and provide adequate concealment and allow for quick escape. She's already checked 2. Empty. The brick pile is position 3. "I don't see him," Leonid whispers. "I know he's there."
You're guessing. I'm calculating. Lyudmila studies the pile through her scope. The bricks are stacked too uniformly, too deliberately. A natural collapse would be more random. Someone arranged those bricks, recently. Behind them, she can't see it, but physics demands it, there must be a gap. Enough space for a man to lie prone, enough angle to fire on Soviet positions. The German is behind those bricks, right now, waiting. Standard procedure: wait for movement. Visual confirmation: fire when certain. But the German won't move until he has a target, and Soviet soldiers are about to approach. She can hear them, 200 meters behind her position. A supply detail, 15 men, moving into the German's firing lane. In approximately 90 seconds, the German will fire, will kill one Soviet soldier, maybe two before relocating. Unless Lyudmila fires first. At a target she can't see. Through bricks that might stop a 7.62 by 54 millimeter round. At a position she calculated but not confirmed. "Don't!" Leonid says, reading her intention. Lyudmila ignores him. She does the math. Brick thickness, approximately 200 millimeters, 7.62 millimeter penetration, 300 millimeters soft brick, angle of deflection, minimal at this range, probability of target being exactly where physics says he should be, high. She aims 3 inches right of the brick pile's center, where the gap must be, where a sniper should position himself for optimal field of fire. Her finger tightens on the trigger. This is insane, part of her thinks. This is necessary, another answers. She fires. The brick explodes. Red mist blooms behind it. For 3 seconds, nothing happens. Then a body slumps sideways from behind the bricks. German uniform, scoped rifle. Head wound. The round penetrated the brick, maintained enough velocity, struck him exactly where Lyudmila calculated he would be. Leonid stares. You just killed a man through a brick wall. Through a brick pile, Lyudmila corrects. There's a difference. She's killed 217 Germans in 11 months. This is the first time her hands trembled after the shot instead of before. Because she'd fired without visual confirmation. Killed a man based on mathematics alone. Crossed a line from soldier to something else. Something calculating and cold and necessary. The supply detail behind her passed safely. 15 Soviet soldiers who will never know they were 3 seconds from death. Will never know that a 26-year-old historian from Bila Tserkva just saved their lives by doing something instructors call suicide. Yelena, who had been watching from an adjacent position, arrived 10 minutes later. "The Germans are calling you Lady Death now. They're offering a bounty, 100,000 Reichsmarks for whoever kills you." Lyudmila doesn't respond. She's staring at the dead German sniper, wondering who he was, if he had a family, if he wrote in journals about the moral weight of killing. "You okay?" Yelena asked. "No," Lyudmila said honestly, "but I can't afford to not be." September 15th, 1942. The Germans came for her. Lyudmila had killed 257 by then. The Germans knew her name, knew her methods, knew she was somewhere in the ruins of Sevastopol. They sent counter-snipers, mortar teams, artillery. They were willing to level entire city blocks to kill one woman. At 06:30 hours, a German artillery barrage hit Lyudmila's position. She and Leonid were spotting from a collapsed apartment building when shells started falling. 122mm howitzers, heavy ordnance intended to destroy fortifications. The building collapsed. Lyudmila and Leonid were buried under rubble. She could hear him screaming, trapped under a support beam that had crushed his legs. She dug with her hands, raw, bleeding, desperate.
It took her 17 minutes to free him. By then, German infantry was approaching. She could hear them, boots on rubble, shouted orders in German. Leonid looked at her with clarity born from pain and certainty. "Leave me. Take the rifle. Go." "No." "Lyudmila, you're Lady Death. You matter more than I do. Get out." "I don't leave people." "You're not leaving me. You're continuing the mission." He pulled his sidearm, a TT-33 Tokarev pistol, and pressed it into her hand. "I'll hold them. 20 seconds, maybe 30. That's all you need."
Lyudmila understood. He was giving her time, at the cost of his life. "Leonid, go! Go!" She went, grabbed her Mosin-Nagant, crawled through rubble toward a secondary position. Behind her, she heard Leonid open fire, the Tokarev's sharp crack, German return fire. Then silence. Leonid Kitsenko, age 31, from Irkutsk, who hummed folk songs while hunting men, died holding a position so Lyudmila Pavlichenko could escape. She killed 4 Germans in the next hour, methodically, without emotion, because emotion meant hesitation and hesitation meant death. But that night, alone in a shell crater, she wept. Lyudmila was evacuated from Sevastopol in June 1942 after being injured by mortar shrapnel. She'd killed 309 Germans, including 36 enemy snipers in 11 months of combat. The Red Army declared her too valuable to risk losing. She was reassigned to training duties, then sent on a propaganda tour to the United States and Britain. She never returned to combat. Leonid Kitsenko was buried in a mass grave outside Sevastopol. No marker, no ceremony. Just one of 200,000 Soviet soldiers who died defending the city. But Lyudmila carried his photograph, kept it in her uniform pocket through the rest of the war. Decades later, when interviewed, she always mentioned him first. "Leonid taught me to shoot. He taught me to survive. He gave his life so I could escape. I wouldn't be here without him." Yelena Trofimova survived the war, became a teacher in Odessa. She and Lyudmila corresponded for 40 years. In her letters, Yelena always asked, "Do you still think about them, the 309? Lyudmila always answered, "Every day, every single one." The Soviet Union awarded Lyudmila the Hero of the Soviet Union Medal, the highest honor, in October 1943. She was 27 years old, the first Soviet woman to receive the award during the war. But the medal meant less to her than Leonid's photograph. The Bronze Star felt hollow. The newspaper headlines called her a hero. She called herself a survivor who got lucky 309 times and unlucky once, the day Leonid died. In 1957, she received a letter from Eleanor Roosevelt, whom she'd met during her 1942 U.S. tour. Roosevelt wrote, "You told me once that you fought not because you loved killing, but because someone had to, and you could do it well. That honesty, that terrible honesty stayed with me. You gave your youth to save your country. History will remember that." History did remember, but it remembered the number, 309, more than the woman, more than the historian who never wanted to kill anyone, more than the mother who left her son to fight, more than the sniper who carried the faces of 300 dead men in her memory until she died. Lyudmila Pavlichenko died October 10, 1974, at age 58, in Moscow. Stroke. She was buried with military honors in Novodevichy Cemetery, the prestigious resting place for Soviet heroes. Her obituaries called her the most successful female sniper in history. They listed the number, 309. They mentioned the Hero of the Soviet Union Medal. They noted her propaganda tour to America, where she'd met Eleanor Roosevelt and given speeches to raise support for the Soviet war effort. What they didn't mention were the journals, the nightmares, the way she would wake up at 3 a.m. for 30 years after the war, gasping, seeing faces she'd never forget. Her son, Rostislav, said in a 1993 interview, "My mother never bragged about her service. She didn't keep her medals displayed. She didn't talk about the war unless asked. And when she did talk about it, she talked about the men she served with, Leonid, Yelena, others, never about herself."
The Soviet Union remembered her as a propaganda tool, a symbol of Soviet women's contributions to victory. Her 1942 tour to America, where she wore a military uniform and spoke to crowds about killing fascists, was legendary. She met Charlie Chaplin, gave speeches at universities, became a minor celebrity. But she hated it. In her private journals, published posthumously in 1981, she wrote, "They want me to be a warrior, a killer, Lady Death, but I'm not any of those things. I'm a historian who learned to shoot because my country needed shooters. I killed 309 men not because I wanted to, but because the alternative was letting 309 men kill Soviet soldiers. I don't regret my service, but I'm tired of being celebrated for something I found necessary but never enjoyable. History forgot the complexity, remembered the number. But the people who served with her remembered differently. Veterans of the 25th Rifle Division held annual reunions until the 1990s. They always toasted Lyudmila first, not as Lady Death, as Luda, the quiet historian who hated violence but was exceptional at it. In Byle Tserkva, her hometown, a memorial plaque was installed in 1995. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, hero of the Soviet Union, born here 1916, she defended her homeland with courage and sacrifice. We remember. It's a simple plaque. She would have preferred that to the grandiose monuments in Moscow. The ripple effect of her actions is incalculable. 309 German soldiers died by her rifle. How many Soviet soldiers lived because those Germans didn't fire their own weapons? How many families avoided telegrams? How many children grew up with fathers because Lyudmila Pavlichenko killed the men who would have killed their fathers? The mathematics of war are brutal and necessary. Every German she killed was someone's son. Every Soviet she saved was someone's son. The moral calculus doesn't balance, it just accumulates weight. Lyudmila carried that weight for 33 years after the war ended. Carried it quietly, privately, without complaint. Because that's what ordinary people do when history demands extraordinary things from them. They do what's necessary. Then they carry the cost. Forever. I keep thinking about Lyudmila Pavlichenko, about a historian who never wanted to be a soldier, about a 24-year-old woman who enlisted to prove girls could shoot as well as boys, and ended up killing 309 men before her 26th birthday. What makes someone do that? Take the shot. 309 times, especially when each shot meant another face in her memory, another name on the list she carried in her soul. The answer, I think, is in her journal entry from August 1941. I don't kill because I love killing. I kill because someone has to, and I can do it well. That's not heroism, that's just mathematics. If I don't take this shot, someone else dies. Someone on my side, someone who might be a better person than me. So I take the shot, and I carry the weight, because that's the price of being good at something necessary and terrible. That's courage. Not fearlessness, not glory-seeking, just the willingness to do something horrible because the alternative is worse. How many of us face that choice? Maybe not with rifles and confirmed kills, but with decisions that hurt us to make, but hurt others more if we don't make them. The hard conversation we avoid, the truth we don't speak, the stand we don't take because it's uncomfortable, or risky, or lonely. Lyudmila Pavlichenko took 309 shots that each cost her something. Each one left a mark. Each one added weight she'd carry forever. But she took them anyway. Not for glory, not for medals, but because Soviet soldiers, men she'd never meet, families she'd never know, would live if she did. That's the lesson. Not that we should all be snipers, but that sometimes the right thing is the hard thing, the thing that costs us, the thing that leaves marks. And we do it anyway, because the alternative is worse. You are facing something right now, a decision, a shot you need to take. It's uncomfortable, it's risky, it's the kind of thing that'll keep you up at 3 a.m. for years. Lyudmila's hands trembled before every shot, every single one. But she took them, 309 times, because someone had to, and she could do it well. Take the shot, carry the weight. That's what ordinary people do when history demands extraordinary courage. Lyudmila did it for 11 months in the ruins of Sevastopol. You can do it for whatever moment is in front of you right now.